Hey, everybody, welcome to the DBC Inc. Facebook Live. It is a Thursday night, and once again, we've had a couple of these recently. We have a book birthday to celebrate, and it's not, well, we'll be honest with you, it's not the actual book birthday, but we're celebrating the book birthday today. Anyway, like one of those things where sometimes a birthday lands on an odd day and like you celebrate it on a Saturday night. That's kind of what this is. We're celebrating the release of a brand new book. But before we get to that, let me introduce my co-host. It is the queen of CrossFit, the baddie from the natty, Tara Martin. What's up, Tara?
Hello, everyone. Please do, as you're joining in, jump in, tell us who you are, where you're from. Alicia Ray in the house.
Hey, little EduI exam author Alicia Ray. Thanks for popping in.
Super excited. We do love those comments. We love seeing them, and they're amen corner. If you have questions for Paul as we go through this, do share those over there. We'll try to answer all of them in these lives. So I'll turn it back over to Dave.
So yes, the book that we have actually is, I was going to show it in a second, but we have Optimized Learning by the author of Learn Like a Pirate, one of our early OG books, Paul Solarz. Thank you, Paul, for joining us, and congratulations on your latest book.
Hey, thanks for having me. And before we get into it, I really want to make sure I say thank you for making the dreams come true of all these educators who get their message out to the world, who get to pass on their knowledge and their wisdom, and just being able to have an influence in a positive way in education is so powerful, and you're making that dream come true for so many educators. So thank you for that.
Oh, we appreciate that, Paul. Thank you so much. It's an honor to work with you and all of our authors. And I see Alicia in the comments, and I think I'm right about this. I think that you and Alicia have something in common with each other with EduI exam and Learn Like a Pirate, and maybe it's somebody in the front of the book.
The forward?
Yes.
Dave Burgess wrote our forwards, both of them.
I think that might be the case.
I think that's right. I have the exam book, and I think you're right. I think I remember that.
Yes, that's right. And what's good to see you, David. Thanks for popping in there. And yeah, so Paul.
Yes.
This book is not like the other books.
No, it's very different.
It's not like it in dimensions this way, dimensions this. In fact, I thought I'd show the book.
No, that's not it. That's not it. That's how it feels, but that's not
it. Let's start there. First of all, let's tell them, Paul, how big is this book?
So it's 8.5 by 11. So it is. It can hide all of us, pretty effectively on this webinar or this recording. It's 447 pages. It's an inch thick. It's 2 pounds 5 ounces or something like that when I went to mail them in the post office the other day. It's hefty. It's 180 lessons. Actually, it's a few more. There's a few more in there. And then it's got 600 slides that are online that you can get by going to the QR codes or the bit.lys, the link shorteners. It's a 5-year project that has come to fruition. I started it before COVID, and I just finished it in the last, truly 3 weeks, right? I would say. I think that's probably right. 3 weeks ago. I mean, I'm still doing stuff for it, but everything online is effectively working, and it's all there. So it's huge.
Yeah, I think that's like the first place to start is like this. When you're buying this book, you are not just buying a book. You're buying an entire curriculum. You're buying an entire set of resources that go with the book. You're getting this is like everything you could possibly want to implement these ideas. And maybe if you could give us a sense of who would be interested in this book, and what is it that when a teacher implements these ideas, these 180 mini lessons, what is that teacher trying to achieve with their students?
Yeah, great question. All right, so I wrote these mini lessons, and they're mini lessons. They could be taught in 15 to 20 to 30 minutes if you wanted to extend it out that far. I wrote them because the whole goal for me is that I was noticing, and other teachers are noticing, that a lot of our students, grades 3 through 8, is the range that I wrote them for. a lot of our students were becoming more and more reliant on teachers and parents to do the thinking and doing for them. And I think it's only gotten worse in the last few years from what I've heard from people. I'm retired. I'm out of the classroom at the moment. So, that I don't know myself, but I've heard that it's getting a little bit tougher. And I wanted to create a curriculum that helped teachers get closer to some of the things I described in Learn Like a Pirate, which it's a student-led classroom, but that wasn't really it. It was the fact that the students think for themselves. They have permission to make mistakes in our classroom. And these lessons teach students how to do the right procedural things while you give them that freedom to make those mistakes and decisions all on their own. So self-directed learners is the key phrase for me. I wanted that to be just the whole point. And I didn't want to call it independent learners because they've got to be collaborative while they're doing it, but they think for themselves and they think collaboratively. They don't rely on the teacher and the parents to do for them as much.
And Mark, thanks for popping in here. Mark was agreeing with you that, yeah, this is absolutely the case with our students today. And so then I think that's kind of like one of the key points too, is that this is not something, you're not like switching out your curriculum or what you're teaching. This is something that is layered on top of your curriculum that just makes the students better self-directed learners for everything else that you're doing, right? So this is like kind of like sharpening the saw, like if like a Stephen Covey term, like sharpening the saw to help them do everything else better.
Absolutely. So the way I knew that 180 lessons, that's so overwhelming. I know that I would say a smaller amount of teachers would want 180 lessons in 1 year to be taught. So what I did was it can be used, as you need lessons, you can pick and choose, or I put them in order in these instructional spirals. So what I did was I put them into groups of 25 lessons and I put them in order. And if you teach the first instructional spiral of 25 lessons, your students are going to know the procedure for before learning, during learning, after learning kinds of things. So this is the lessons in here are supposed to help your students do better while they're working alone, working with partners, not necessarily while the teacher's on stage, giving a lecture or leading even a class discussion, because the students kind of rely on the teacher to think for them during those times. It's the times when you would want your students to make smart decisions and think for themselves and do for themselves. And so with my encouragement, I'm hoping you'll do more of that even through this, but get your kids going, partner them up and get them working. And while they're working, instead of saying my class can never do this, my kids can never do this, they're not well behaved enough, they're not mature enough, whatever the excuse or the reason might be, I say get them out there going, let them make some of those mistakes, find the lessons that you think might be needed to address those mistakes and teach those mini lessons right away. Meanwhile, if you can teach those 25 in the first instructional spiral, you'll be really set. And if you see progress and you want to keep going with it, go to the second instructional spiral. It starts with the foundation and the core, and it starts to build on that as you go through it. If you never make it to the seventh instructional spiral, that's okay. That would be like the advanced, levels for your students. But if you do, you're sending your kids on to that next grade level, extremely self-directed and collaborative and able to do for themselves that, a lot of students can't so far.
Yeah, I love it. Kristen, thank you for popping in, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul, some people are wondering, like, is it for all ages? Like, how does it work?
So because so as I started creating the lessons, I was a 4th and 5th grade teacher. So I kept I basically think like a 5th grade teacher because my 4th graders could do what I did in 5th grade. So I made my lessons like I would for my students, just because I know that worked for my students. But I also wanted to make sure that there was enough meat to it to make it middle school worthy and yet simple enough for maybe 3rd graders to start to understand. I don't know that I would start it on day 1 of 3rd grade, but I think, I wouldn't mind doing that in 3rd grade with this, because that's who needs this right away. The 3rd graders are starting to need those kinds of skills more than anybody. So if you introduce it to your 3rd graders, then the next year they might get some more as you keep it going. And the nice thing is if you teach some of the mini lessons in 3rd grade and then they go to 4th grade and get some of the mini lessons again, it's the spiraling type of idea. So you're teaching them this process, which is called the student-led self-improvement process. Is that clear, Dave and Tara?
Yeah, I can see it.
So the idea behind it is that you're teaching them how to plan before they get to work, prepare, get settled in, know what to do when you're working without the teacher telling you what to do. Then metacognition is like monitoring their learning while they're actually working on the project, the lesson, synthesizing the old information and new information and creating a new meaning from what they're learning. Then after they're done, at this point, after synthesis, I kind of encourage students to turn in their assignment or, declare their assignment complete at that point, and then go on to the after the assignment stuff, which is reflect on the process. What did you do? What did you learn? How well did it go? And then self-assess, which there's overlaps in that, but try to figure out what did you do well? What did you do poorly? How can you repeat what you did well? How can you teach others what you did well? But then how can you, thank you. that's even better. How can you yourself make goals? Because the next level is goal setting. So you had some things you didn't do as well that you identified in self-assessment. Your teacher is not going to set these goals for you. Your teacher may not even know you struggled with certain things during this learning experience. So you set yourself a goal. It might be a little goal that's something you do just once or twice, and that's called a goal burst, and we teach you how to do a goal burst. Or it could be a smarter goal, which is something that you're going to have to work on over time and have a plan for how you're going to improve that skill over time. And then you're going to collect data, your version of data. I never make it hard for the kids. It's just, what evidence do you have that shows that you've made improvements? And then you decide when you've met a goal. And then throughout this whole process, there's feedback. The idea that you should be seeking feedback from others. What am I not doing well here, you guys? What could you help me do better? And then I'll help you if you help me. And, just this idea of collaboration, which is important. And if you're not expecting every single student in your class to turn in the exact same answers to the problems or whatever, you should be able to have students collaborate where they spread ideas and pass on knowledge, so that they might take the good things that they like and share other things with each other. So that's the idea of it all. Is if you introduce this in third grade, they're going to still use the same process in fourth grade, still use the same process in fifth grade. And if you teach them to internalize it and transfer it, which is the ultimate goal of education, is transfer, then they should be doing this anytime they're allowed to work without someone thinking for them, not just in school even, but throughout life.
Right. Mark had asked about whether it was only for gen ed or you could do it in a subject specific class. And Alicia was kind enough to weigh in on that. And for sure, this is something that, like, if you are down 3, 4, 5, you have it's like a self-contained classroom, this is going to be wonderful. But even, like Paul said, even up 7th, 8th grade, if you have a subject specific class, you're going to be able to layer these ideas in with your content area.
Yeah. So I know when I reached out to my peers and my colleagues, I tried to capture every type of teacher that I could think of: special ed, elementary, middle school, high school, professor, college, everything, to get an idea of this. And what I've heard back from people is, this definitely fits in special ed. This definitely fits in self-contained classrooms, whole grade class. I saw it as a middle school, like a strategies class or those learning skills classes that they have. This could be the whole curriculum for a year, or it could be a 6th, 7th, 8th curriculum, 60 lessons each year or whatever. So I see this working in a lot of different ways. I hope that nobody thinks of it as only a curriculum that has to be taught, from lesson 1 through lesson 180. But yet it's designed so that you could teach that. And the 180th lesson is like the most highest level. It doesn't mean it's the hardest. It might be third grade appropriate even, but it just means that you don't need that one until you've done a lot of the other things. I worked tirelessly to put these things in order in a way that made the most sense. And I revised and revised and revised till I got it to the point where I really believe in the order. It's the order I would teach them in.
Yeah. That reminds me of what you said about revising the orders and changing the things. There's a story that John Wooden used to tell about. He has this famous thing called the pyramid of success. Okay. And he had these blocks, and the pyramid and like trying to decide which were going to be the cornerstone blocks and which would go on which level and how it would build up to the thing. And he said he spent like a lifetime moving those blocks around and changing them around to like what would make sense. And for you, 5 years,
like a lifetime.
5 years, including over a
Somebody's
pandemic, which
lifetime.
seemed like a lifetime.
Yeah, it's been thousands of hours is what I figure, but like passionate about it. This is what I wanted. It was something that I believed so strongly in that I never gave up on, that I said, even if it takes me 10 years, if it's still applicable in our world, I want to get it out there. And I think I honestly think this is a good time to release this type of book, because during the pandemic, it was too hard, virtual learning and things. Right after the pandemic, there was just so much catching up and figuring out, how do I get everything in? How do I reteach things they've missed? So much. I think we're finally getting to a point where it's a bit more normal, but yet you're starting to see where are my students, really showing up. And I think a lot of people are saying in those learning skills, in those self-direction skills.
Yeah. So there's another aspect of this book which I think people would find interesting, Paul, and that is that you came to us with this book early on, and we had many back and forths talking about the project and what it could possibly be and the formatting of it, all these kind of things like this. And eventually we came to a decision and agreement that you were going to create sort of an imprint of DBC and do this formatting via Canva on your, it was like, it's super, if you see inside this book, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's very layout heavy, like it's overwhelming as far as like, if you're a design person, it's fantastic for the user, but whoever's laying this book out has got their work cut out for them, and that work was cut out for Paul. And so Paul has used this, the first book of an imprint, which is Edu Pioneers DBC. Is that what we're? Yeah,
Edu Pioneers, and then my hashtag or my Twitter is Edu Pioneers DBC. Yep.
Yeah, so it's part of the DBC line, but in a special imprint created by Paul. And so I wanted to shout you out, Paul, because pulling together a 447-page book with this kind of design feature in Canva and getting it file ready is like no small feat.
Oh, it wasn't by myself as far as the getting it file ready. I definitely had a lot of help from Wendy and Lisa and others and Liz. So many people who helped me as far as like just getting those final steps. But Canva has been outstanding. It's been great to work using Canva for this. It pretty much helped me set everything up. I could figure things out that I needed. And then I really enjoy the fact that all of these lessons are modifiable through Canva. So every lesson has a QR code and a bit.ly at the top there. I'm sorry, it's hard to see because every lesson has that QR code or that bit.ly short link. And if you click on that or, type it in or scan it, you go to Canva where it's a template of all of the slides for that lesson. Every lesson has at least 3 slides, an instructional poster that you would project to the class, or however everybody teaches differently, but this would be the visual that you'd use to teach the class. This would be the student handout. There's at least 1 instructional poster and 2 student handouts for every lesson. And there are oftentimes many more. And what you can do is you go to Canva and you can modify those slides completely. They're all completely editable and make them your own. So if you thought, one of my slides has balloons on it and you said, my 8th graders are going to hate those balloons, I'm just going to get rid of that. Well, then you can go in and you can change that. I actually, for the example that I just gave, have an alternate slide in there for you. So you could choose a non-balloon one. But in general, like if you want to make it more complex or more friendly or use a different term, I know there's one lesson I say, fake it till you make it, is one of the phrases I use, because I think we all have to say, I don't really like what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to fake it till I make it. And, we got to get through this. But if you don't like that phrase or whatever, you go right into that slide and you take out fake it till you make it and you put in something else, and you can still teach the concept to the class and you don't have to dislike the slides that go with it. So Canva's wonderful to be able to do that.
And I agree with Alicia. So great to be able to customize like this. So great, this use of Canva. And the other thing is, like, if you're picturing, okay, that you're going to take, like, now, see, I'm old school. Like, I can remember putting opening up books and putting them onto the copy thing, trying to get like you don't have to do any of that stuff. All this stuff is available for you. You can get the templates and print them off, and you're not going to be me with like the crease of the book showing in your handouts and all this kind of stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, actually, yeah, it's set up where at the beginning of every chapter, there's a QR code and a bit.ly that lets you download or get access to the Google Drive folder with all of the things in there. I say things because it's slides, but then there are also bookmarks, and there's lots of different things that you can download or whatever. You can leave it there. You can take it and put it on your own hard drive, but it's set up in a Google slideshow. If you do it slideshow wise, the slideshows are by unit or by instructional spiral. You can download the PNGs, which are the image files. So if you wanted to just show them as something you put up on the board, or if you wanted to put it into something that you're giving the kids, you can do that. It's set up in every way that I could picture somebody wanting to teach it, because I didn't want you to have to do the extra work. I figure it's easier for me to do the 7 units and the 7 instructional spirals all at once than for you to have to do it. And then nobody else benefits from it. So I did it in many different ways. So just scan that QR code or go to that bit.ly and you should be able to access something that you could use.
I like what Mark has to say here. He said, not only do we get the content in print, but we also get an editable electronic materials. And that's exactly right. That's right. And not only just edit materials that can be edited, that always looks like edible to me.
Yeah.
Right.
We're
not going to eat these materials. I do love eating, but not only, but yeah, not only are the materials able to be edited, but they also are in multiple different formats, is what Paul's saying. So it even goes even further, Mark, which makes it just that much sweeter.
Yeah, thank you, Mark and Alicia, for all your comments, because that's helpful and it's reminding me of things. But there's a page in the book that teaches you all the things you can do in Canva. It's page Roman numeral 4. But if you just look, and it's going to change over time because Canva will change its site. But all the different things you can do integrating with Canva, you can assign it to Google Classroom or your own LMS. You can do a slideshow from the template. So if you end up like making your own changes and you want to do it right there on the spot, don't even bother downloading it and putting it into anything. Just do a slideshow right from the Canva template. And just so many great options. Canva has really helped make this a great book.
David, you and me both, mind blown. Look at this. So I think maybe now people are starting to get a sense of what you were talking about when you said this was a 5-year project.
Yeah. The last couple of years, I mean, it's just putting this all together is the hard part, because a lot of the lessons were created. And now it's tinkering, and I've had to cut it down, believe it or not. There were extra lessons that I've had to cut out of there just because it couldn't get any thicker. 180 lessons was the most I felt comfortable, putting out there. I figure that's how many days in a school year pretty typically for many of our schools.
There's only so many pages that would be willing to bind for you.
Yeah, that's right. There is a limit. You're right.
Yeah. So you mentioned that I think you said it weighed over 2 pounds.
Yeah, I want to say 2 pounds 4 ounces. I mean, we're getting up there to a preemie. Like it's getting big.
Okay.
It's getting big.
So, I don't know where to go from there.
I don't know.
Okay, so
we're birthing books over here.
It is a book birthday. So I'm glad that Nick is not in here right now, although she might watch the playback, because what I was going to tell you is that 2 pounds and 4 ounces. If anyone from Canada says, "Hey, do you think you could ship me one of those?" Just say no.
Right. I know. Isn't it just, it's very, very tough to pay that kind of postage. It's $35 or something. It's crazy.
Yeah. Just say no to that. Like, or if someone's like, "Hey, I'm in Singapore, like, you get a copy over to," it's like, I can't actually. Yeah. So, all right. I wanted to tell a couple quick stories here. One of them is that when I said Paul is one of the OG books, Learn Like a Pirate was the first book in the pirate series after Teach Like a Pirate. So of all the Like a Pirate books that we have, Learn Like a Pirate was the first one. And even it has the PIRATE acronym, but with new words generated by Paul, which are more student-led, kind of student-centered terms. And so it was a real good kind of counterbalance to Teach Like a Pirate, which is more about, teacher specific strategies and things like that. And then Learn Like a Pirate came along, which is more about empowering the students in the classroom. And so like a shout out to you for being the first Like a Pirate book in the series beyond mine, and for adding that counterbalance to my more kind of teacher centric message.
Thank you. And I think they go together just so well because of that. I really think that if you read them both, especially back to back, you just get this really big picture of what education is and can be. And you learn so many great best practices. I'm thinking about your book at the moment as I'm saying it, like just, amazing things, all the hooks and just so many great, wonderful things.
I see in the comments, Alicia just threw in, so she's one of the DBC historians. And so she's book 4. And Alicia wrote a blog post about it. And also I mentioned Nick earlier. Nick told me that this was her introduction to DBC books, by the way, was your book. So before she read my book, she read your book. That was the first DBC book that she purchased, was Learn Like a Pirate.
I have known her for as long as the book has been out, so that makes a ton of sense. That's how we connected. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Really cool.
And then I was going to tell one more story real quick here, just because, and Paul's heard this story before. Tara, I don't know if Tara's ever heard this story before, but I know for sure that other people haven't heard this story. And Paul, I think I told you, we had a little author chain for a while, and I might have dropped this in, but this was many, many years ago, and Teach Like a Pirate was just like, it was on fire at this moment. And I was in a hotel gym. I was out on a speaking event, and I was in a hotel gym working out, and a mom came in with her daughter, and I was in my Teach Like a Pirate shirt. And this mom was, I kept seeing this mom look over at me while I was working out. And then like I see her like whispering something to her daughter, and like the daughter looking over at me. And I'm thinking like, oh, like she's probably read the book, like this, like, and then we're walking out, and like she walked out, and we were kind of walking out towards the same time, like, oh, I'm just going to make this not awkward for her, like, I'll just like say like, hey, how you doing? Like, and like just kind of broke the ice and started the conversation. And she's like, oh, like, yeah, like, I'm sorry, like, to be staring at you, but I just had noticed your shirt. And I was thinking like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, this is great. She's like, and like, I don't know if you've ever heard of, I don't know what that is, but like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this amazing book. It's called Learn Like a Pirate. And so like, and like, I don't know if the Teach Like a Pirate has anything to do with it, but we read this amazing book as our staff called Learn Like a Pirate. And she started talking about all about your book. She had no idea who I was or anything about Teach Like a Pirate, but she was very excited about Learn Like a Pirate.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, because
cool.
I have the other end of that where, I have people randomly coming up to me saying, oh, I've totally heard of your book. And I always have to say, well, you might have heard of Teach Like a Pirate, which is by Dave Burgess. He's my publisher. And I always have to start with that, because I just assume, which one do you think you might have heard of? So it's funny how it is both ways. That's right.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that doesn't happen anymore. But I remember when your book first came out, it did happen, that I would get people would direct message me sometimes. And it's like, hey, like, I don't know if you know this, but there's this guy named Paul, and he's like stealing your stuff. He's like, he's got like this pirate book or whatever. I'm like, no. Like, I published that. I'm the forward to that book. Like, that's my book. What are you talking about? But they would message me and say like, hey, like, this guy's taking all your stuff.
They contacted me as well at that beginning point, and they're like, hey, that idea is already taken. You're just totally stealing it from that guy, Dave Burgess. And I'm like, no, he's my publisher, please. They were mad at me. They definitely defended you for sure.
I have people out there, just so you know.
That's right. They're looking out for you.
So true.
Well, Paul, we are super excited about this book. We are super excited about people picking up this book, reading it, most importantly, implementing these ideas with students in their classroom. If you get this book, we would love to see a picture of you, like attempting to carry it in the house. And we would love to see
doing some workouts.
Yeah, I was going to say, do your workout, right?
Right. You could do some CrossFit with this, I think, Tara. But use the hashtag optimized learning.
Optimized learning.
And also, Paul, if people want to connect with you, which they should, and share what they're taking away from the book, where are the best places to get a hold of you?
Sure. I'm most active on Twitter or X at Paul Solarz. Facebook is Solarz Paul. And then Instagram is P Solarz. Awesome. So please let us know when you pick it up. Tag Paul, tag us,
and use the optimized learning hashtag.
Mhm.
And I think there's a Twitter for the book too. Is it OptLearn?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a summer book study, which I haven't quite fully announced, but now's as good as any time. July through August, I'm going to do a 7-week one where you can just show up for one of them. You don't have to come to all 7. But I think I'm going to do the LearnLab hashtag, but I'm going to introduce the OptLearn hashtag during that as well. And it won't be a weekly chat or anything, but I'll try to get people to share things with OptLearn. But we're going to break down all those 7 chapters during those 7 weeks. I'm actually clustering a few things together, but with the idea being focusing on these skills more than just the book, so that way people can come even if they don't want to buy the book. They could still learn about these what I call macro skills, and we can talk about the micro skills that I work on through the mini lessons as well. But we'll do that in the summer learning study.
And you mentioned the LearnLab hashtag. So LearnLab is still an active chat every Monday night at would be 7 Central.
Yep.
And so it's an hour chat before TLAP, 30-minute chat. And so that's a good, if you're looking for more chat time on Monday nights, like you're a TLAPper and pop into LearnLab. That's like, it can be your 1 hour pre-chat. And actually, if you think about it, so TLAP chat started in the spring of 2013, and it's still an active chat 11 years later. And your chat is one of the longest, I think, in longevity, like ed chats that is out there. TLAP, I think, brings you down, but LearnLab, I mean, there's not too many that have been around longer than LearnLab and TLAP.
I believe it. Yeah, their ed chat's been around forever, but I don't know if that's a weekly chat anymore. But yeah, most of the ones that I've learned over my life have kind of come and gone, and it's hard. Twitter is not as active as it once was. So we really want to keep getting new people so that we get new ideas and continue to learn from each other. So yeah, please attend TLAP and LearnLab whenever you can. It's a great discussion. I learn something every week. So I just think I highly recommend those. They're still great.
And as Tara and I, we can both testify to, it's not easy to run a weekly chat for years and years and years. And so the fact that you're still out there running it, and you do a great job of recruiting help too.
Yeah, I was going to say, thank God for all the volunteer moderators, Mark Uriel, who was in here, just people who are willing to help us out like that. I've got Todd Stanley, who's an amazing author who does one every month, and he's been doing it for years. So people who do who moderate for me are just outstanding. I couldn't do that without them, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Paul, congratulations and welcome to another book in the DBC line, but then also book 1 of the EduPioneers line too. So it'd be interesting to see what comes next in that line.
Yeah, and so put the links over in the comment section for the book, for Paul's X handle. Also, keep in mind, we do have a lot of things coming up with Paul, sharing more about optimized learning and some of our guest blogs. Sunday 7, we have a free webinar coming up on the 23rd, May 23rd, where he'll be teaching us one of the lessons in here that you will be able to then take away and use it right inside your classroom. So do try to join us for the free webinar. It's a sign up thing. You won't have the link yet, but it'll be like about the week before the webinar, and it's on a Thursday night too. It's on May 23rd. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to that.
Are we convincing Paul to stay late and do a TLAP with us?
Yeah, he's doing a TLAP on June the 3rd.
Awesome. All
Can
right.
we read his whole tour? Does everybody want to know? I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so he'll have the webinar on the 23rd. He'll be featured on a guest blog where he'll be sharing another piece of optimized learning on May the 27th, the week of May the 27th. And then he also will have his Sunday 7 will be on June the 19th. And that is a very special day, not just because it's Juneteenth, but it is another special day for Paul. So you do want to sign up for the Sunday 7 if you haven't already. Go to daveburgessconsulting.com, get subscribed, because there'll be some cool stuff in there too.
And Alicia, your book should be there by Monday, just so you know. They said Saturday or Monday.
Oh, thank you, Alicia. And your book's coming.
They're
book coming?
They're reinforcing the trucks.
They made me go around the line twice for the post office. They said,
I'm
we
gonna
can't
do a
all three
workout
at
reel
once."
with this one.
All right,
Awesome,
very
everyone.
cool.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Please do come back. See us next Thursday. Thursday night, I think it'll just be alive, probably with Dave and I and no agenda. So fasten your seatbelts and join us next week. Thank you, Paul. Hope you have a wonderful day and happy book birthday.
Thanks so much for having me, you guys. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye, everybody.